I'm completely perplexed because the voting has taken place. People have, cast their ballots, and in the U.S., their midterms are over. The backlash, though, is that there are still people who are saying, like, I'm not going to vote, voting doesn't do anything, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't understand that because I understand that George Carlin pointed out the flaw in the system back in the day where, you only have two choices right now. The reason why Americans only have two choices basically boils down to money. The amount of money that is funded by the parties to their candidates, is astronomical. This is what Hillary Clinton kind of was running on. Part of her thing was, I'm going to reduce the amount of money that can be contributed to campaigns, thereby kind of opening it up to grassroots organizations. Now, the thing is that if you have a grassroots organization that can't financially garner getting on board, well, obviously you're not going to have a third party to come in and run. And that's the argument that a lot of people say with I'm not going to vote. But see, the thing is that if 10 million people don't vote, and 5 million people do, and 3 million of those 5 million voted for Trump, and 8 of the 10 million weren't going to vote for Trump if they were forced to at gunpoint to, vote, well, guess what? Trump wouldn't be in power. The shit show that you have wouldn't be going on. And I kind of look at it and I'm like, basically by throwing away your vote, you're doing exactly what the system wants you to do. The corrupt system that you're not fighting against is actually winning because the corrupt system is making it so that you don't have a choice in what you're doing, so why do anything at all? And that doesn't make any sense to me, because I see the world where you can force votes, you can force candidates to come up with better platforms, you can make things, basically better platforms. I mean, like, millennials have the largest power in capitalism, voting, any demographic. You look at millennials, and you guys have the power. You have 6 billion of you on the planet kind of thing, like not obviously that much, but you're larger than baby boomers. So you're say 51% of the population. You're 51% of the population. That means you guys can affect any and all change that you want to do. Now, I'm not saying go out there and be like Antifa, which is a bunch of, homegrown terrorists who don't realize that the real world is all about, cohesion, not bullying. This is the kind of thing where we're at, but people are like, oh, I'm not going to vote because fuck bullshit. Okay, so you're not going to vote, but you're going to, by not voting, you're allowing a system to further corrupt the people that it serves because you've chosen to do exactly what the system wants you to do, which is not fight against it. That's fucking brilliant. Like, that's literally all you're doing. The other thing is, I was watching Joe Rogan finally. I've kind of put that off for a few years. And I found out that people out there have been I've been in the wrong with the phrase gender dysphoria, the psychiatric definition of whether or not you may or may not be in the proper gender body. And now, according to Joe Rogan, people think that gender dysphoria is somehow racist or something. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, the psychiatrists, when you go to talk to a psychiatrist, they know exactly what you're talking about. It's what their medical terminology is. But now the public have decided that, once again, something else is completely evil and angry and whatever. And I don't understand. Like, psychiatry to me is like science, so I trust the definitions of the psychiatrist because I would trust that they're going to come up with something that is basically as neutral as you're going to do. Dysphoria means confusion. I mean, Alice in Wonderland, taking mushrooms, acid, whatever. Dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is uncertainty of the knowledge. Now, yes, when you become trans and you go through your gender identity change, it's now you're absolute on that. So you're not experiencing gender dysphoria anymore, and that's why you're not in gender dysphoria. Now you're considered a trans person. And on and on and on. And I'm just like, wow, like, this is what's going on. Like, Today, people are like, I'm not voting ever again because voting's stupid, and they're encouraging other people not to vote. And now we're taking scientific terms and calling them racist, or I don't even know. I think that's what the term was, or bigoted or something like that. Like it's they're now like, oh, this is a bad terminology, and I'm like, okay, so it literally explains everything to the T, but So, anyways, that's my 5 minutes of time because I'm like shaking my head at the world right now because the world has gone like completely fucking mental. And you know what? The reality is it's just a small part of the world. It's the online thing, but the online leads to, everybody else saying, blah, blah, blah. And one last thing I'm going to say about this is I was on one of the Facebook pages, and that's what brought up this voting thing because they're encouraging people not to vote. And they're supposedly a mystic, one of those mystic pages or, more elevated consciousness pages. And like all these millennials, all they kept saying was like angry, bitter comments about voting. And I'm like, at what point do you think that you're born and then suddenly you're just some 16-year-old psychotic emo kid that's angry and bitter and hates the world and has had all this tragedy befall them, which really isn't tragic. It's just how you choose to interpret it overnight. Like, really? So the thing about voting is, yeah, okay, so voting sucks. Our current candidates, at least in the U.S., suck. But without voting, you have all of your medical problems, you have all of your civil rights problems, you have all of these other things going, and you're just choosing to throw it away, and you're choosing to remain bitter. And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't stay bitter because the system is broken, and now you refuse to work towards fixing the system. That's one of the problems with millennials. Like, I've met a few millennials. Sorry, I'm not meaning to umbrella statement, paintbrush everybody into one category, but I have met young people who are like, well, the system's broken. I didn't break it. It's not my problem. Yeah, it fucking is. Like, you have the power to change it. You have the power to demand that it changes. So, yeah, you do need to step up your game, pull your socks up, put your big pants on, and be an adult. Stop being a baby.